All right, what's going on, everybody? Well, we were talking about this yesterday on the roundtable over at D Style Boxing's channel, and I gotta be honest. The more and more I think about it, and obviously, after watching that press conference from Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury a couple days ago, I found myself asking, is this all a sham? Is this all just for hype? Is this all just BS? Does Deontay Wilder really believe all those things that he said about Tyson Fury, about the cheating? Or is this all just BS? And is this all just to hype the fight up? Is this all just to create a narrative to get people excited, to create one side versus the other? Because usually when you do create one side versus the other, it makes the event bigger, right? You have the two groups of people fighting back and forth with each other, just like we had the Manny Pacquiao fans versus the Floyd Mayweather fans, and look what happened there, right? Because when Deontay Wilder went to the press conference, put the headphones on, seemed to me that he really didn't want to talk about all those claims that he made about the second fight, all the excuses he made. Seemed to me that he just wanted to kind of detach himself from reality and distance himself from everything that was going on around him. That's the sense that I got. That's the sense that I got. I felt as though he knew that people were going to ask him questions about the allegations about of the cheating and the water and all that stuff, and he didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to talk about it, and then he does the interview with Ellie Setback after, and it seems as though he wants to talk to people who are going to give him the softball questions. Wants to talk to people like 78, wants to talk to people like Ellie Setback, wants to talk to people who aren't going to ask him the tough questions, who aren't going to question those claims. He wants to talk to people who are going to agree with him about those claims. That's what he wants to do. Seems to me that that's what he's looking for. So the more I think about it and just the ridiculousness of all the claims that he made, and here's another thing too. So he wanted the rematch, right? The third fight. So he took legal action, or him and his team took legal action to get that third fight, right? So they took legal action to get that third fight and went to arbitration. So if he believed that all these claims he's making against Tyson Fury, right? Because then he would have to call the commission into question too, right? He would have to call the commission into question too, right? So if that were the case, then why didn't he ever take legal action against Tyson Fury? If he really believed, and these were some pretty strong claims, right? These were some pretty strong claims. We already saw what happened to Louis Resto, who was accused of, well, not even accused, he was found guilty of doctoring the gloves, right? Lifetime ban, right? That's how serious these claims are. And then the same thing with, Antonio Margarito when he had his issues, right? When he had his issues, they put him under investigation because Nassim Richardson, Shane Mosley's trainer, found some issues with his gloves before the fight, and then he was basically suspended for a year because of that, right? That's how serious these accusations are and the repercussions of these accusations. And no commission worth their weight in salt is ever going to allow something like this to fly under the radar on their watch. No commission's gonna risk that. They're really not. Once again, yeah, exactly. Exactly, Dr. Monfangui says criminal level accusations. Yeah. So these were some pretty serious accusations, right? So why wasn't anything done about it except just talk, right? Why wasn't anything done about it except just talk? Fury does have a past, right? He does have it does have a past, and no question. If I was fighting Fury, I would be making sure that everything was on the up and up too, right? Because of the failed PED test. But now that he's the WBC World Heavyweight Champion, and even when he fought for the title, he had to register to be tested by VADA. He had to be part of the WBC clean boxing program, right? He was part of that. You can go on BoxRec and you can see that he is registered under the WBC clean boxing program, right? So because of his past, he's looked at more closely now, right? You had JD's, again, we're going to repeat ourselves over and over again, and it's, it's going to sound redundant to some, but you had JD's in that locker room checking the gloves, right? Had JD's in that locker room checking the gloves, did not find anything, right? Commissioner signed off on it. They had the glove meeting the day before to choose the gloves. Ernest Gabion was on D-Style's Hispanics Causing Panic show. And Deontay Wilder wore Everlast gloves, and he was there during the glove inspection meeting. And Deontay Wilder and his team, no one complained about Tyson Fury's gloves for the first fight. No one complained about it. They signed off on the gloves, right? So if everyone was watching Tyson Fury and no one found anything, then how could they go back months later and accuse him of foul play? If they would have to be incompetent themselves. And why did Deontay Wilder approve of the gloves in the first fight? Ernest Gabion is a representative for Everlast, right? Very, very reputable person who works in the industry, right? He works for Everlast. He knows boxing gloves inside and out. He was being asked questions by D-Style, G-Funky, and the whole crew over at Hispanics Causing Panic. And they were asking him really in-depth questions about how could this, what did I tell you about that? You got blocked for this. Be a proud American, support your champ. You already got blocked for this. We're not going to do the xenophobia stuff. We're not doing bigoted stuff here. I already warned you. No more bigoted comments or you're going to get blocked again. We're not doing this. We're not doing the us versus them thing here. No, we're looking at the whole thing. You need to debate the topic. We're not going to debate country, race, religion. We're not doing that. Anyone that wants to debate that stuff will get blocked. We're not going to sit there and attack people for their backgrounds. Just because Tyson Fury is not American does not mean he's not doesn't mean that he should not be treated fairly, okay? And if he's going to be accused of something, there should be proof brought against him. No one should be slandered and have their name run through the mud if no proof can be given. We're not doing that. We're not doing the us versus them and the country versus country thing. We're not doing that. You get blocked again if you do that again. So back on topic here. So no legal action was brought. Deontay Wilder signed off on the gloves the first fight. JD's in the second fight, proof of the gloves. The whole accusation about Mark Breland with the water. So basically, Deontay Wilder, if he really believed that Tyson Fury cheated, and he really had evidence that Tyson Fury cheated, then he would have been much more diligent in providing the evidence. He would have taken legal action, just as others have, just as others have. Antonio Margarito, again, suspended for a whole year pending the investigation. Luis Resto, banned for life, right? Bernard Hopkins had issues with Trinidad's gloves in the corner. Naseem Richardson didn't like Trinidad's wraps. Had to rewrap. Cut them off and rewrap them, right? Same thing. Andre Ward, his trainer, Virgil Hunter, didn't like what Mikkel Kessler's trainer was doing, how he was stacking cut it off, rewrap it. That's what you're there for. And if you don't do your due diligence, or your team doesn't do their due diligence, then that's on you. You can't sit there and say, oh, well, JD's isn't experienced at doing that. Well, you sent them in there. That was your call. That was your call. You can't blame anyone else but yourself. Right? And you were mad at Mark Breland, right? Because he stopped the fight. So why didn't you just say, you know what, I don't want Mark Breland in my corner. I felt as though he took me as far as he could go, as far as I could go, excuse me. He took me as far as I could go. I don't think I'm benefiting from having him as my trainer anymore. I don't think I'm getting anything new from him. I don't think I'm improving as a fighter now, because I have Mark Breland, right? I don't think there's any improvements being made by having him as my trainer. You could say that. That's fine. Also, I'm not happy with him stopping the fight. So because of those things, I'm going to let Mark Breland go. That would have been sufficient, right? You had legitimate issues with Mark Breland, but then you had to take it a step further and defame the guy, right? You had to defame the guy. You had to take it a step further, and you had to defame the guy, right? Once again, why did he do it? Because controversy sells, people. He wanted to create that divide. He wanted to make the conspiracy theories even bigger, right? But here's the thing. You tried to destroy a man's reputation and his name. And for what? For what? Because he had your best interests at heart, because he was concerned about your well-being and your health for your family. So, I've been going back and forth with this. I don't believe for 1 second that Deontay Wilder really, truly thinks that any of these things that he said are true. Because once again, if that water was tampered with, any substance would have showed up in the post-fight drug test. Would have showed up. It would have showed up. So the fact that he didn't bring any evidence, the fact that he didn't protest either fight, the fact that no legal action was taken against Fury or any of his team, you have to ask yourself, does he really believe this stuff? And because and even him not wanting to talk about it at the press conference, he had Fury right there in front of him, right? He didn't confront Fury face to face about it, right? Didn't want to talk to the press about it, right? All he wanted to do is talk to people who already believe him, like Ellie Setback, right? Ellie Setback believes him, right? That fraud. He showed his bias during that interview. He didn't ask one objective question, right? Can't do that. You can't sit there and give somebody a full softball interview like that. That's bullshit, right? Then he's on 78. 78 already is gassing him up. He wanted to, he saw that he was creating this movement on YouTube, right? It's like, I got all these people behind me, man. I got a following, right? I got this following, right? I can use this to my advantage, man. I could use this to my advantage. I can create this divide between the fans. I can create this drama. I can make this fight bigger. I can give myself an alibi, right? I could use this as a positive. I can make it look like, hey, I was wronged. Now it's about revenge. Now it's about redemption. I can make it look like this guy couldn't really beat me. He had to cheat. Right? Fury has a checkered past. But because of that, he's being watched even more closely now. So even if you were to suspect him cheating, it's going to be harder for Fury to cheat now, because once you cheat, you're being watched more closely, right? Once you've been found out, right? Once you've been found out, people are going to watch you more closely now, right? Omar Rodriguez says, Beeb, genuine question. I thought in order to detect a particular substance in the blood, the test must be done for that specific substance. Isn't this the case? Yes and no, right? Because how many times have drug tests been done, right? And other drugs were found in the system, and they were looked at as being masking agents. Case in point, if you remember Luis Ortiz, right? That blood pressure medication, right? That popped up in his blood test. To my knowledge, I don't think that they were specifically doing a test for that substance, but they found it anyways. So I think certain things will trigger an adverse finding in these drug tests. So something to the effect of an illegal drug, something like a downer, or something that would be put in someone's water to make them drowsy, right? To make them sleepy or whatever, right? That would be like a downer, right? That would be like a Quaalude type substance, right? So they do test for recreational drugs. People have been, test positive for marijuana. They test positive for cocaine. So I'm sure they could find they would have found an adverse finding in his blood test if there was something there that shouldn't have been there. So yeah, your question is correct. But once again, that blood pressure medicine that Luis Ortiz was taking, right? I don't even know how that would be a performance enhancer, but it was something that triggered an adverse finding, right? It triggered an adverse finding. So what they thought was some of these drugs are used as masking agents, right? So that's the situation with that. Could certain things slip by? Yeah, but as time goes on, these tests become more and more sophisticated. As time goes on, the list of banned substances seems to grow, seems to become larger, right? There was a time when caffeine was on the banned substance list, right? There was a time when caffeine was on the banned substance list. You couldn't have a certain amount of caffeine in your system. So it's crazy too, because a lot of things that you are allowed to take that would not trigger an adverse finding on a drug test, they are performance enhancers. Like I take caffeine and I take citrulline malate, which gives me a pump. It immensely helps me out during my workouts. Both legal substances, but they're both performance enhancers in my opinion. Both performance enhancers in my opinion. Right? So I just find it interesting that no proof was ever brought to the table. no protests, no legal action. Now, the one legal action that was taken was the arbitration, right? Because he wanted that third fight. So I have to surmise that, in my opinion, I just think that Deontay Wilder is blowing smoke. I think he's created drama. I think he's created controversy, right? I think he's taken these theories that were being propagated online from certain groups here on YouTube, certain groups here on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. He took that and he said, hey, I got something here. I got something here, right? I could use this to my advantage. I could use this to create a movement, right? I could use this to make my name more popular. I could use this to keep me in the headlines. I could use this to make this fight bigger. You know, I could be portrayed here as someone who was wronged, who wasn't treated fairly. And all these, I hate this, you know, I'm going to be honest about it. All of the channels, basically, they were predominantly, or I would have to say just about all, were black channels. So hence, what did he do? He started to make it a racial issue, right? All to make the whole, to cause more controversy and to make the event even bigger. Because once again, when you have two sides battling one another, right? What does that do? That creates dialogue, whether it be positive or negative. And when you have that dialogue, that interaction, whether it be hostile or peaceful, what happens? Mushroom clouds into what? A whole bunch of narratives that could be played over and over again, right? And the more narratives you have, the more people talk about the event. And the more people talk about the event, the more interested they become in the event. The more articles are written, the more videos are made, the more people just keep continuing and continuing to increase the interest of the event. So I think this is all just a ploy, a promotional ploy, in my opinion. Right? All just a promotional ploy. And it was very disrespectful what Deontay Wilder did at that press conference, not talking to the press, the way he disrespected Christina Poncher, who was the host of that event, right? He could have told her before the event started, hey, I'm not going to ask any questions. Why did he blindside her like that? Basically, she looked kind of uncomfortable, maybe even a little bit embarrassed. I don't want to, just assume things here. I don't know what was going on in her head, but she looked very uncomfortable and very embarrassed at that event. Bob Arum didn't look too happy either. But Tyson Fury, he doesn't need you to talk. He carried that whole press conference, right? Malik Scott was trying to defend Deontay Wilder. All he did was make Deontay Wilder look worse, right? But here's the thing. It doesn't matter because Deontay Wilder is going to have the LDBC. He's going to have barbershop conversations. He's going to have boxing ego, right? Deontay Wilder is not an idiot. 78 Sports TV. 78 Sports TV. 100,000 subscribers, right? Let's do the math here. Then you got Boxing Ego, like almost 150,000 subscribers, right? Then you got Blue Blood Sports. It's got like 50,000 subscribers, right? Barbershop Conversations. I think he's got about 30,000 subscribers, right? And then when they do these videos, right? When they do these videos, and they do these multiple videos daily, right? Multiple videos daily and weekly, right? with all that subscriber base and all the views they get, and then they have people who are on the opposite side of what they're saying. They're watching the videos just because they want to hear what the ridiculousness and the stupidity of it all, right? So when it's all said and done, Deontay Wilder probably has, throughout the course of a month, millions of people watching him and listening to him. And all those channels, the followers of those channels, the subscribers of all those channels, right? They're all supporting him. They're all putting out the narrative. They're all basically saying that Tyson Fury cheated, and they're convincing others to believe it as well, because everybody wants to, not everybody, but the majority of people, they're sheep. They want to belong to something. They want to follow somebody, right? They want to be part of a clique. They want to be part of a group, right? People who in their real lives don't really have a lot of social interaction with people. They may have some deficiencies socially. And again, this is just my opinion. I'm not a psychiatrist, but I do notice people who have these fake names, put up a fake avatar. They don't show their face. They're the guys that usually act the toughest on here, right? I don't act tough on here. I'm 52 years old. I ain't beating anybody up at this age, right? I'm an old man. I done my fighting. There's no more fights left in me, bro. I try to avoid fights at this stage. You disagree with me, you want to insult me, whatever. I'm not coming after you. I'm not flying to wherever you live. I'm not hunting you down. But you guys know what I look like, Most of you guys can find out, if you wanted to, where I lived. It's not hard to go online and do searches for people. I'm sure people could do whatever they wanted to me, but again, why would it even get to that? What for people to get that emotional about this, it makes no sense. For this to be a racial thing, it makes no sense. Because whenever you bring race into something, what happens? It becomes a hot button issue. People become very hostile. People become very defensive. People become very angry. Right? Once again, see these comments? This gentleman's picked a side, right? Instead of criticizing me, he should just say, he's saying, Joe Abib, we know what you're doing, trying to make Wilder out to be a racist, but he's not. Mainstream media has tried to demonize. Again, don't act stupid. He has every right. Here, see? This is a 78 sports subscriber right here. And I got him over here because I lured him over here because I put his hero in the title. This is exactly what I'm talking about. See what he's doing? Instead of just saying, Beeb, stop saying these things about Wilder because it hurts me, because I'm a Wilder fanatic. Beeb, you're telling me things that probably are true, but I don't want to hear. But I don't want to hear them. You're telling me things that are probably true, but I don't want to believe them because it doesn't make me feel good. It makes him feel good knowing that Wilder is his hero. And if I portray Wilder as anything other than his hero, he's going to get mad at me. That's a weak individual right there. And once again, DW, that's not a real name. And he's got a D there. He doesn't even have a face there. He fits the description. He fits the description of a person who probably is very flawed, is very socially inept in his life. And again, this is just me spitballing here and coming up with my own theories. DW, not a real name. The D, not a real person, right? Hiding behind a keyboard, and he's mad at me because I am crushing all his dreams right now. I'm destroying his dreams because he lives vicariously through another man. And right now, I'm destroying that for him. Right now, I'm destroying that for him. Right? Let Tyson Fury talk. That's who you love to listen to, him. It's just a boxing match. Okay, so it's just a boxing match. Then why are you getting angry? Why are you calling people stupid? And once again, race is going to be the issue of this because that's what it's being made out to be. But you're not a real person. You're a fake avatar with a fake name. And it hurts you because I'm not saying the things about your hero that you want me to. If I was saying that Fury cheated and Wilder's right, you would be big upping me right now. But because I'm not saying what you want to hear, it bothers you. So you have to come on here and you have to try and shame me into believing what you want me to believe, which will never happen because this is a real person. That's a real name. I'm a real individual, right? That icon is my brand. That's our company, right? Eric and I, Eric Lorda, Joe Habib. Google us. This is what you'll see. We're not hiding. We don't have an agenda. Beeb, don't give people like this a platform. To them, fact are subjective. Again, well, I'm going to do what I do, bro. I mean, this is what I do. This is what I do. I'm going to do what I do. Good afternoon, sir.
How you doing, Joe?
What's up?
Man, can Wilder get any more delusional?
Well, I mean, I don't even think he's delusional anymore. I think he's just playing a character now, and this is the character that the people on YouTube created for himself. And this is the character that social media created, and it's making him more popular. Whether it's for the right reasons or not, he enjoys the attention. That's what I think it is. I think he just likes to get the attention. Go ahead.
Well, it's a tragedy how Mark Breland's been sort of treated in all of this. I mean, all of the excuses that he made, I mean, frankly, all of it is corny, Joe, straight up. And you're right. I mean, the only explanation I can think of that makes any sense is that he's just playing like a character, a WWE stuff or something. But it's terrible for the accusations he made against Breland. I mean, that's just horrible. I mean, Breland literally saved his career. If he had been in there for one or two more rounds, we're talking career-ending damage. He saved his career, and this is how he treated him. It's just tragedy.
You know, Breland could have been dismissed. He could have been let go. I don't think there was a reason to have to defame him. But once again, I think it just added to the narrative. I think it just made the story. The thing is this: when you tell one lie, what's the old saying? You got to tell another lie to cover up the first lie, another lie to cover up the second lie, and then it just it becomes a snowball effect. What great athlete is not delusional? I don't know. I don't think Michael Jordan's delusional. I don't think Magic Johnson's delusional. You know?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think, Joe? You think what would you have thought had he gone with a trainer like Virgil Hunter? You think that would have been a better move?
I don't. Probably would have been a better move than Malik Scott, because I don't like the fact that Malik Scott's his friend. I don't like the fact that what Scott said at the press conference. Oh, well, he's stubborn. You know, I can't get him to do what I want him to do. But and then Fury said, well, if you can't get him to do what you want him to do, then what good are you as a trainer? He goes, oh, well, I can't get him to do what I want him to do here, but when we're in the gym, I can get him to do what I want him to do. I don't think anybody can get Deontay Wilder to do anything. I think Deontay Wilder is a stubborn person. I think he's going to do whatever he wants to do. I think he wants to surround himself with people who are going to let him do whatever he wants to do. And I don't think anyone that's an authoritative figure is ever going to last in that camp, because they're going to be thrown out. So, you know, it is what it is.
How do you see the fight playing out, Beeb?
You know, at first I said, you know, I don't think Wilder was 100% in that second fight. And then you can say, well, no fighter's 100% when they go into a fight. But I think he was even more so less than 100% in that second fight. He did look like something was wrong. He did have an issue with that left bicep tendon. It was swollen before the fight. It was pointed out to me during the weigh-in, and I didn't see it at first. And then someone, my friend of mine, DM'd me on Twitter and said, check out that bicep. I think something's wrong with that bicep. And lo and behold, after the fight, he got surgery on that bicep tendon. So I think there was an issue with that. He did look like he was possibly sick, whether he had the flu, coronavirus. He did look like he was under the weather. He just did, right? So he wasn't 100%. Will he be better in the third fight? Yeah. So I thought that, because I think he'll be better in the third fight, much more so than he was in the second fight, because I do think he was compromised to some degree, maybe more so than normal, right? I thought that the fight would probably be more competitive. I still thought Fury would win. But now I saw him at that press conference. I even looked at his body. He looked really lean. He looked like more thin than normal. The Deontay Wilder I like to see is about 220 pounds. Every time that Deontay Wilder that's like 208, 212, 212-ish, 214-ish shows up, I don't think that's the same Deontay Wilder that we see at 220, 222, right? So I don't think that his nutrition is up to par. I don't think his training is up to par, right? I don't think the footwork's improved. So originally I thought that the third fight would be better than the second. It'd be more competitive. Now I'm starting to lean towards Fury knocking him out again, because I don't see anything different. When we have a trainer who's telling you his fighter's stubborn, right? Then that tells me right there that how could you get through to him if he's stubborn? And you're friends. I don't like the fact that they're friends. I think he needs a disciplinarian in there.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of people who really think Wilder's going to win by KO this time. It's interesting. I've been just kind of following along, seeing what the zeitgeist is. And it's interesting the sheer number of people who think Wilder is going to win by straight up KOing him. And I don't know. It's fast. I'm with you. I think Tyson Fury is going to stop him. Because I mean, history tells us, at least boxing history tells us, generally speaking, rematches and third time fights, they don't usually go that differently. If it was close the first time, it tends to be close in a lot of cases, and if there was a comprehensive result in one, then it could usually be the same. Do you think Fury's in decent shape? He looked a little big during the press conference.
Actually, I'm going to be honest. For him, yeah, he looked in shape. Never a body beautiful, but he's about 260, right? He looks a little bit lighter. I think 260 is the ideal weight for him. 250 is maybe a little too light. 270, you could even argue, is too heavy, right? For him, I thought he looked good. I really did. I thought he looked lean for him. What people got to understand is this. This guy got up to 400 pounds. Once you gain fat cells, you will never lose them. All you can do is shrink them. So because he lost so much weight, right? Because he put on so much weight and had to lose it, he's going to have them fat cells. He's going to have that loose skin around the midsection, right? This was a guy who lost about 100-something pounds. But physically, he looked better than normal, like that than recently. He looked better at that press conference to me physically than he looked in the second fight. He looked a little heavy in the second fight. But I think 260, I don't think he's going to get up to 300 pounds. I think he's going to be about maybe 260-ish when he fights Wilder for the third fight. I think he's training. I think he's been keeping busy, right? But let me just address this comment, because this is once again Bayside Boxing, not a real name, right? Avatars, boxing gloves, not a real avatar. So he fits the description that I was talking about before. Another guy hiding behind a keyboard, who basically historically Beeb has picked against Wilder. Let's keep it real. Again, what you meant to say was Beeb Don't pick against Wilder. He's my hero. I don't like that you're picking against Wilder. It bothers me. Just say that. Don't mask what you really feel by trying to attack me because you don't like what I'm saying. Basically, what you want me to say is Wilder's going to win. And if I don't say Wilder's going to win, then you're going to attack me. So that's what it is. So I have not historically picked against Wilder. The thing is I've never picked against Fury. Anytime Fury's fought anybody, I picked him to beat Klitschko. I picked him to beat Wilder both times. And I was right. I've never picked Luis Ortiz to beat Wilder. All right? I never picked Dominic Brazil to beat Wilder. Right? The one time I did pick someone to beat Wilder was the first Bermane-Stavern fight. So out of all the Wilder fights, the only time I've picked against him really is 3 times. So I don't know what once again, your statement is factually. What you really meant to say was, don't pick. I don't like that you're picking Fury over Wilder. It bothers me. That's what you're supposed to say. That's what you really meant to say. Don't mask it with something that you know isn't true, because they're trying to discredit me by saying that I always pick against Wilder, so my opinion doesn't matter because I'm biased against Wilder. Instead of saying what they really want to say, don't pick against Wilder. He's my hero. He has to win. I'm mad that you're picking against Wilder. Just tell the truth. That's all you got to do. That's all you do.
I have to say that's you're pretty much the only boxing analyst I know who picked Fury to beat Klitschko in Germany, and because everybody I was following was convinced that Klitschko was going to win. What made you think he could go in there into Klitschko's backyard and win? What about his style or his situation made you feel confident?
His versatility. This is a guy that could box from the outside. He could fight you on the inside. He could muscle you when he has to muscle you. He can get in the trenches and fight a dogfight with you if he has to. He's very strong and he's very quick. His feints, it's really hard to get a read on this guy because he constantly keeps you guessing. And I think he hits hard enough to get anyone's attention. I don't think he's this powder puff puncher that people think he is. This is a guy 6'9" who can move like a gazelle in there. You know? I just think I think he's exceptionally talented. And add on to that the size that this guy has, and that just is a recipe for disaster for an opponent. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's interesting. That whole fight, a lot of people were saying, well, why doesn't Vlad just pull the trigger? But the reality is, he's just keeping you on a knife's edge. That to me is still, a lot of people think that's a boring fight. I could watch that fight. I've watched it like a lot of times. It's a masterclass.
Yeah.
So that's and on a related note, Biba, I don't know if you mind referencing other channels on here, but
you can. You can. I talk about anyone on here. I don't care.
Okay. Now
I watch them all.
There's a channel. You familiar with Rami's Corner?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, Rami does a lot of really great historical work.
Yes.
He did this one about the lineage, the heavyweight lineage. Because technically Tyson has the lineage right now. What's your view on boxing lineage? Do you care about it, or what's your general views on it?
I don't think Tyson Fury is the lineal champion, because here's the problem with the lineage. The lineage gets broken when someone retires or they step away for a long period of time. As much as I'm a fan of Tyson Fury, the fact that he stepped away for almost 3 years and comes back and thinks the world is going to stop for him, or the world should stop for him, anyone who believes that, not just him himself, but anyone that believes that, I think it's wrong. Because if someone tests positive for PEDs and they're in the process of getting, I mean, if he didn't step away, he would have probably gotten suspended per an investigation. The IBF already stripped him because he decided to not defend that belt. So I think as a champion, you have a responsibility, right? And if you don't meet the responsibilities of a champion and you lose the titles because of it, then that breaks the lineage, in my opinion. If I'm going to give you my honest opinion on this, on the whole topic. So Lennox Lewis, I thought was when he beat Tyson and he beat Holyfield, I had no problem calling him the lineal champion, right? I had no problem doing that. But when Lennox Lewis retired, then Vladimir Klitschko, for some reason, became the lineal champion. Why? He never beat Lennox Lewis. But he was thought to be the man because he cleaned out the division, I guess, right? But he never really fought his brother either. So who was really the lineal champion? Him or his brother? Because his brother lost to Lennox Lewis. So I think this whole lineal thing, it's like at some point the lineage gets broken and then it just gets restarted with somebody else. So for me, I'm not really into the whole lineal thing. My thing is this. I think if you beat the perceived best fighter in that division, or you clean out the whole division, you fight all the top guys, then I'll just call you the man, right? Whether you're lineal or linear, that's irrelevant to me. You're either the man or you're not the man, in my opinion. And if someone beats you after you've been deemed the man, like no one had any dispute that Vasily Lomachenko was the man at lightweight. So you could create that franchise thing, whatever you want to do, that's fine. But Teofimo Lopez beat the man at lightweight, so I deemed him the man at lightweight. He's the real champion at lightweight until someone beats him, in my opinion. That's how I look at it.
Speaking of performance-enhancing drugs, not to get too off topic, but what's your view on, I mean, it's a little bit in the past now, but Canelo being popped for clenbuterol. There's different theories. People talk about Mexican beef. A lot of people are convinced that he's been doing something, which is why his power carries through weights. What's your view on everything you've seen? I never got your take on it, so I'm asking.
I suspect all of the top fighters, and I've said this and I'll continue to say this, whether I get in trouble for saying it or not, I suspect all the top fighters have used, are using PEDs at some point, whether it be in the past or even now. I think all of the top fighters have dabbled in PED use, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Whether they got caught, that's another story. The whole clenbuterol thing is this. Clenbuterol is a cutting agent. It helps fighters make weight, but it also has stimulatory effects on the body too. It does help with stamina, right? It does help with stamina. It does help with blood flow, right? It does speed up the metabolism a little bit, which creates energy. It does help with, the body utilize calories better, right? Nutrition partitioning, right? Helps with all that stuff. So is clenbuterol just a cutting agent? Is it just used to lose weight and give an athlete a more leaner look and help him drop pounds or whatever? Yeah, in bodybuilding it's used for that. But again, it also does have a stimulatory effect on the nervous system. It does help fighters with their stamina. It does give them more energy. So do I think he got it from the beef? It's possible, but in my opinion, highly unlikely. I think he took clenbuterol because in Mexico, it's very, steroids are legal in Mexico. A lot of the PEDs you can buy over the counter in Mexico. What I think is, my opinion, again, this is just my opinion. I think he did take the clenbuterol knowingly. The thing about clenbuterol is it doesn't stay in the system that long. There was trace amounts because I think there was a residual effect. He thought that it would totally clear the system, right? And it did not. So I think he knowingly took it, but I can't prove it. It's just my opinion. You'd have to eat a shit ton of beef, in my opinion, for that to happen. Now some people saying, well, the soccer team, there was cases of that, blah, 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 blah. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not saying it's impossible what happened. In my opinion, in this case, I find it very improbable, right? I just find it very improbable.
Well, it's interesting that people reference the soccer team because like blood doping is like, it happens everywhere in world soccer. The amount of games that these guys have to play, like you would die. Like, I mean, they play like 3 times the number of games that were played like 30, 40 years ago. Like, you literally have to dope to stay on the field. So
Yeah.
it's interesting that people use that as an excuse.
And
So
and the benefit of using that is it just doesn't stay in the system long, right? A lot of these drugs, if you do your research on them, and I'm sure these people who are talking to, who's ever helping them out and advising them, and whoever they're getting them from, right? I'm sure they're talking to people, and they know how long the drugs stay in the system. Now, here's the thing: everybody's different. Whether how long a drug stays in your system, there's a lot of factors. What other drugs are you taking with it, right? How's your diet, right? How much body fat do you have? Because certain, if you have a higher percentage of body fat, a lot of these drugs like to, they get into your fat cells and they stay in your system longer, right? So you may think that a drug will clear, right? But it may not. That's the thing. So I think a lot of these guys make minor miscalculations, because every time they do test positive, what do the results always say? Oh, there was trace amounts in there, right? What does that mean? That means that they were either trying to microdose, or they took the drug a substantial time, before the test, right? Whether it be a couple days or a week or whatever. And once again, they thought it would clear, but there's still a residual amount in there. So obviously a miscalculation was made on the timing of when that drug was going to clear the system.
you just reminded me of that whole fiasco with John Jones, with the whole picograms and stuff of whatever he had. And that was embarrassing. I mean, I was listening to this and it was amazing to me that people were falling for it, being like, wait, that's the whole point. He was cycling off. That stuff doesn't just show up in anyone else. All these guys are taking all kinds of supplements. And
the claim that there's going to be trace amounts in his system for the rest of his life is fucking bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. Okay. That's ridiculous. And then once again, USADA has a shady past. They have a checkered past as well. So they get called. I mean, they'll get called into question too, right? They'll get called into question too.
Joe, speaking of kind of MMA guys transitioning into boxing a little bit, but I got into a pretty heated discussion with some folks over a few days ago about how, first of all, people have been saying boxing is dying or boxing is dead for decades now, and it's still doing its thing. But they're saying the whole celebrity YouTuber, TikTok star guys like coming over and doing all these celebrity fights, they're saying that this is the sign that boxing is dead. And I said, nah, I mean, this is just bringing new generations. Like anything that brings eyeballs to me is a good thing. And, I think of it more three-dimensionally than just, this ruins the legitimacy of the sport. I don't think of that at all. But I'm curious, what's your view on all this crossover activity with TikTok and YouTube and everything? What's your general view?
It could help a little bit, but maybe minimal. But I don't think it really hurts that much. I think people who say it hurts, they're just angry because they're not getting the fights they want to get, and they think this is a result of them not getting the fights they want to get. So they kind of blame it on this. The fact that they are boxing, I mean, boxing is a sport, so they are boxing technically, right? But they're not boxing at a level that guys like Tyson Fury, Vasily Lomachenko, and Oscar Valdez and all the top fighters are, right? So it's not really the same thing. It's not like Canelo Alvarez getting in there fighting Golovkin. It's not the same thing, right? But whether those fights happen or not, I think social media has played a big part in what we do, right? And what individuals do, because we're always on our phones. We're always on Twitter. We're always on Instagram. We're always on YouTube. And if we're constantly seeing the same face over and over again, and more people kind of resonate with that face, then that person's going to become popular. So whether that guy is in a boxing match, whether he's playing one-on-one with Michael Jordan, whatever that person does, whatever the Paul brothers do, there's always going to be eyes on them, right? So that's just the way it is. That's the social media world we live in, right? And I think boxing can benefit from social media, and I think it has benefited from social media. I think the biggest problem with boxing right now is the fact that they want to constantly put everything on pay-per-view. I think the market's been oversaturated with pay-per-views, and I think it's hurting the sport. I think what the Zone is doing, I was critical of it because I didn't think it would be sustainable, but I was proven wrong, and I'm happy to say I was wrong. And I was saying back then that I wanted to be proven wrong. I didn't think it was sustainable, but it is sustainable. But I'll tell you why. Because the Zone is not just looking at one targeted group of people. They're trying to branch out and be international. What they just did with the UK, right? How Eddie Hearn's going to be exclusive to the Zone. The Sky's gone now, right? All those Sky fights are going to be on the Zone. Now what they're doing with Canelo, all those Mexican fights that the Canelo is a promoter now, all those Mexican fighters under his banner, they're going to be on the Zone now. So what people tend to not realize or maybe overlook is how big boxing is globally, right? How big is boxing globally? Like boxing is becoming really big in Japan now. You got, you got Inoue, right? You got other fighters over there. The middleweight, what's the middleweight's guy's name over there? The Murata, right?
Yeah.
Like so you got Japan, you got the Philippines now with Manny Pacquiao, and then you got Anakawa's fighting there now. You got Nonito Donaire making a resurgence now. So you got, boxing is big everywhere. Canada boxing's big, right? Yeah, they've had big stars, over the years as well. Toro Gotti was Canadian, Jean Pascal, Lucien Butte, so MMA is and the UFC are big in America. They're big in Brazil, right? But they're not big in other countries. They're not big in Canada. Well, they're kind of big in Canada, but not. I don't know if MMA is bigger than boxing in Canada. I could be wrong there, but I think when you have markets like Mexico, you have markets like the UK. I think you have the Asian markets like the Philippines and Japan, and boxing's pretty big in China too, right? I just think globally, boxing is gigantic. I think globally boxing is huge, right? So that's the thing.
It's interesting, the whole MMA debate. And I kind of feel like it's plateaued, to be honest with you, because you remember, Joe, about 10, 12 years ago when Brock Lesnar was in the UFC and he was fighting Frank Mir. And if you consider the levels of fan hype, and sure, McGregor came in and he did his thing, but I just kind of feel like they haven't had that exponential increase. Like for a while, there was talk about, oh, this is going to rival the NFL someday. And I just kind of feel like it's been plateaued for the last 10 years at least.
Well, let me tell you this, and you give me your opinion on this. They've had some great events, right? But have they ever had a super fight? Have they ever had a Pacquiao Mayweather? Have they ever had a Tyson Lewis? Have they ever had a Tyson Holyfield? Have they ever had an Ali Frazier, an Ali Foreman over there, right? They've never had an event where the world just stopped. Boxing has had events where the world has just stopped. When you look at Conor McGregor, as big of a star as he is, he had to come over to boxing to do 4.4 million pay-per-view buys, right? What's the highest pay-per-view a UFC has ever done? If everyone can tell me, I don't know.
I don't think they ever got to anywhere near those. I think maybe you're looking at 1.5 to 2 million, maybe. I'm just thinking, but I never heard of a UFC event doing even over 3.
Okay.
We could check about Conor versus Khabib. To your definition, that's the only one that I can really think of that comes close to that. We're talking 2 guys in the same division who are at both highly ranked pound for pound. Maybe maybe Conor
Yeah.
versus Khabib, but like the Anderson Silva versus George St. Pierre never happened, and George St. Pierre versus some of these other guys never happened. I mean, okay, St. Pierre versus BJ Penn was supposed to be that, but you knew in the first few seconds that BJ was just too small to be fighting St. Pierre. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of real crossover appeal, I don't think it's ever really had the same kind of super fight. I think that's a fair point.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I think boxing has such a head start over MMA, and boxing still is able to have these mega events. I mean, if Fury fights Joshua, that's going to be gigantic, right? I
Yeah,
think
that's
this,
another. Yeah, that's going to
yeah,
be
I think
huge.
I think this Wilder Fury fight is going to do a lot better than people think. I think a lot of people are going to buy this. Now, here's the thing: streaming has really, really put a damper on the pay per views. But the fact that Mayweather and Paul still did a million pay per view buys, they still did over a million pay per view buys, which I think a lot of those buys were from Logan Paul fans because, again, they're not boxing fans. So they're not really educated or they don't really know about all the boxing streams because they're not normally looking for them, right? Like boxing fans are constantly looking for streams because they're constantly watching fights. These guys probably watch boxing for the first time or maybe second or third time. They're not going to sit there and watch fights all the time, right? So they probably didn't know where the streams were and they didn't care. They were going to buy the event anyways. So that's one advantage that I think that event had because you had crossover appeal with Logan Paul.
Well, speaking of which, what's your call on Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley?
Tyron Woodley's going to get knocked out in 2 rounds, in my opinion.
It's a bold prediction, my friend.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do well. I just don't think he's going to do well.
Yeah, I could see it. I can see it. To be honest, because I mean, so many guys like Mike Perry got knocked out by some total journeyman. A lot of these MMA guys who've done professional boxing fights, they have a couple of KOs on those records. Anderson Silva got knocked out early on in a boxing match against some random Brazilian dude, interestingly enough.
And I have absolutely no interest in this Chavez Jr. Who's he fighting? Anderson Silva?
I think.
Anderson Silva, right? I have no interest in that. And the whole thing with De La Hoya fighting Vitor Belfort, I have no interest in that either, man. I really don't.
What is Oscar trying to prove? I mean, he walked away with his health intact and a lot of money and this gorgeous wife and beautiful family, everything. I mean, what is he trying to prove, Joe?
Well, we were talking about this last night on D-Style's show, and I don't know if these guys need guys like Floyd and Oscar need money because Oscar obviously has the issues with substance abuse, and that can be very pricey, right? His promotional company seems to be losing a lot of steam, losing a lot of fighters, taking a lot of financial hits over the years, right? They had Canelo, they lost him. They had all those PBC fighters, they lost them. So part of me thinks that maybe they just need the attention. They missed the limelight. But another part of me thinks that maybe they do need money. These guys may not be as rich as they are being perceived to be, or they pass themselves off as being, right? Floyd buys a lot of things. He's got big entourages, right? He's got a lot of expenses, right? I don't know. I don't know how much cash this guy has, right? When you constantly buy things, right? How much liquid money do you have? How much liquidity do you have? That's the thing.
Yeah, and especially with all this COVID stuff, you never know how much his net worth took a hit for whatever reason. I mean, we'll never know, but I have to. Yeah, it's true. I gotta agree with you.
See now, all these Wilder fans come in here like this DW guy, right? I'm just here to keep the balance. What did you actually bring to the table? So I made these statements. I said, well, if the gloves were tampered with, then why did JD sign off on them? Why did the commission not catch it? Why did the inspectors at the day before glove meeting not catch it, right? I went over all that. Those are all factual statements, right? I'm bringing logic into the conversation, right? The whole spiking of the water thing. Why were there any adverse effects in Deontay Wilder's post-fight drug test? Why didn't any foreign substance come up in the post-fight drug test, right? So I'm bringing evidence, and I'm talking, I'm talking about providing evidence, and I'm talking about facts, right? Now, Tyson Fury, we know that he tested positive for nandrolone back in 2015. He said that he got it from boar meat. I'm consistent. I don't believe Tyson Fury. I think that he was not telling the truth when he said that. I think he took the nandrolone, and I think he knowingly took the nandrolone. That's my opinion. So I'm consistent on that. Thank you so much, Donkey Boxing. So I'm consistent on that. So all these people in the chat who are basically saying, I'm here for the balance. So if you're here for the balance, then what is your case for Deontay Wilder? What proof do you have that all those things that these people on YouTube and these people on social media, and now Deontay Wilder himself has said, right? How can you refute what I'm saying, number one, and how could you support those claims if you don't have evidence? That's the thing. If you don't have evidence, then there is no counter. There is no balance. This is me providing all of the information and you not being able to refute any of it. So you can't debate logic with emotion. You're bringing emotion to this debate because you want to believe the narrative. You want to stand behind a man, which is fine. You could want him to win. You could love him. You could, whatever you want to do. You could be a fan of Wilder. I'm a fan of Fury. But my being a fan of Fury will not throw out logic. I do not believe that he tested positive for nandrolone because he ate boar meat. As much as I admire Fury as a fighter, as much as I like him, I am not going to say that because he ate boar meat, that's why he tested positive for nandrolone. You also asked me a question about Tyson Fury's claim to the being the lineal champion. I never thought he was the lineal champion because once again he stepped away for 3 years. That positive drug test, that was an issue. He was going to get investigated. He wasn't going to be allowed to fight till that investigation was done, right? He probably would have got suspended for that, right? And, he got stripped of the IBF. He also was having issues with cocaine, so that was another problem he had with post-fight drug tests, right? Cocaine is a banned substance in boxing as well as the nandrolone, right? So he was stepped away from the sport for 3 years due to his own fault and no one else's. So that's why I don't think he's a lineal champion. That's me being objective. Does that mean I'm not a fan of Tyson Fury? No. Does that mean I don't think he's going to beat Deontay Wilder? No. Does that mean I don't think he's the best heavyweight in boxing right now? No. Doesn't mean any of those things. But my objectivity will allow me to be unbiased when someone asks me, do you think Tyson Fury is the lineal champion? No, I don't. Do you think Tyson Fury tested positive for nandrolone because of the boar meat? No, I do not. That's the difference between me and you guys. You guys are going to believe. And the whole thing with the floppy glove, there is no rule in the sport of boxing that says you cannot bend, that you're not allowed to bend your wrist back like this when you throw a punch. There's none. There's none.
I mean, with the glove thing, Joe, I'm trying to think, and I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of people who cannot accept that Wilder lost due to just not being the better man on that night. And I'm saying the funny thing in all of this is that there's an easy out for those people, and I'll tell you what that is. First of all, ever since Brother Naz found the block in Antonio Margarito's glove right before the Shane Mosley fight, especially like major athletic commissions like Nevada State, that's their lifeblood. Now, if a guy takes steroids and it's found after the fight through blood testing, again, that's something that the fighter or his camp is doing, but the amount of controls that these guys have in place to make sure that no crazy stuff happens with gloves. I mean, it's damn near impossible. You know, they bring you pick the you pick the gloves that you want. You know, it gets sealed away, then it's watched by people in the commission. It's watched by people in the other guy's camp. I mean, there's no way that you could get. They watch you taping up your hands. There's just no way for you to do some crazy shit. And it's funny because I would think, Joe, that if you really wanted to go the route of looking for the best possible excuse, the easiest thing would be, okay, Tyson Fury tested positive for steroids in the past. He must be doing some designer cocktail stuff that gave him all this power, and you know, he put that work on Fury. Oh, he put that work on Wilder, and that would have been the easy out for the crowd that just doesn't want to accept that Wilder just wasn't the better man on that night. I don't know. It's just I'm just trying to think about this and trying to be as fair as I can. It's just,
But
it bothers me that people just can't. They just go to these extremes.
well, all they're doing is just trying to make the fighter that they idolize look good and not look bad. When you subscribe to a group or you join a team, you paint yourself into a corner. You put yourself into a box. And no matter what that side says, you got to run with it. Just like the Democrats and the Republicans, just like Fox News and CNN. No matter what Biden does, Fox News is never going to give him credit, just like CNN was never going to give Trump credit. So once you are on a team, okay, then you're going to ride or die with that team. You're going to die on that hill for that team, right? And these guys have chosen a side, and they don't want to waver from that side. They don't want to see people like me. This is why I believe I don't have as many subscribers as some of these other channels. And anyone can call it hate. They can say whatever they want. The fact of the matter is I'm not on a team, right? So there's very few people in the middle, and there's more on the left and more on the right, right? That's the thing. So the people in the middle are always going to be the smallest group. The people who don't subscribe to the two large groups are always going to be the smallest group. That's why I don't have the following of these other channels, in my opinion. Is that me hating? No, I think it's me making an observation. So I think Wilder's tapped into something. He sees how big these channels are. He sees how big the following these channels have. He sees an opportunity, right? And I think that's what's going on here. That's what I think is going on here, to be perfectly honest. The whole thing about the drug situation, to answer your question and to talk about the point you just made, Tyson Fury is going to be subjected to the commission drug test. He's also going to be subjected to the VADA testing, because once you fight for, or you are a ranked WBC fighter, right, you have to enroll in the Clean VADA program, the WBC Clean Boxing program, the VADA testing protocols, right? You have to be part of that. So I think anyone who fights for the WBC title or was ranked by the WBC and fights in any sanctioned WBC events, I think they're under the most stringent drug testing possible, right? So, yeah, if you want to say Tyson Fury has a past of cheating, he does. There's no question about it. I'm not here to defend that. But because he has cheated in the past, I think he's watched a lot more closely now, right? I think the spotlight is on him now. I think he's under a microscope now. I think, he's passed and did what he had to do since testing positive for that nandrolone, right? So until we have evidence and we have a result that comes back with adverse findings in it, right, then as far as I'm concerned, right now, Fury is a clean athlete, or at least clean by the standards of the testing, right? So I just got to be honest with that.
We're in an interesting phase of history because it's like I was giving you the example of soccer. If everyone's being tested and no one is coming up positive, that means one of two things. Either everybody's clean or everybody's taking the same next generation kind of steroids. So, but the good thing is that it's a level playing field either way, generally speaking. It's kind of interesting on that in that sense.
Let's read this comment. Let's read this comment, and I want to get your take on this comment. Personally, I think Wilder has the evidence, wants his get back fairly, and after KO's Fury in a fair fight, then all the other evidence comes out, and Fury and team go to jail. Does that sound even remotely possible? Like, so after Fury gets knocked out in this third fight, right? If Fury were to get knocked out in this third fight, do you believe he's going to go to jail? These are just totally illogical statements. So Wilder has evidence of egg weights. He has evidence of glove tampering, right? Which all this stuff is criminal. But he's going to sit on this for over a year and a half, almost 2 years. Does that sound logical to you? Now, this is why this just sounds kind of ridiculous to me that someone would even say something like this. I'm not trying to insult this person, but this is not something that a logical person would say. This is something that someone who's just, under the influence of cognitive dissonance to the highest level. This is something that a person like that would say, in my opinion.
So I'm not sure if people really understand how it works, because the testing of not the testing but the review of the gloves, it's not just before the fight, because what happens is after the fight, when the gloves are removed and your hand reps are getting cut open, but they're analyzed afterwards as well. So I just want someone to explain to me this egg weight theory. Where was he going to hide egg weights when the entire world is following his every movement, from leaving the ring all the way to the dressing room? People from the commission are there. How do you think they would have hidden something like that? I mean, I'm trying to entertain this theory.
I can't make sense of it. And if someone were to provide evidence to me, then I would totally change my tune. But I just don't think that anyone could provide that evidence to me. Callie King, my brother on here, good friend of mine, said Wilder wouldn't have said nothing if Fury wouldn't have tried to slither past the trilogy. Well, here's the thing. Wilder was making excuses immediately after the fight. Now, it took him a little while to come up with the egg weight thing. I'm not sure how long it took him to come up with the Breland spiking the water thing, because originally he was going to keep Breland. So it took some time. I think Wilder was just regurgitating what a lot of these people said here on YouTube. So, I don't know if that's why Wilder's saying all the things that he said. I do think that this whole arbitration thing was a way for everyone to stall, to wait for the country to open up so they could have the fight in front of a live gate. So I kind of think both sides were in on it in that regard. I think both sides knew all along that they were going to have this third fight, right? I think Wilder knew all along they were going to have this third fight. I think Fury knew all along they were going to have this third fight. I think Bob and Frank knew all along they were going to have this third fight. But in my opinion, and this is just, again, my opinion, I think this was all part of the stall tactics so they can wait for the restrictions, the COVID restrictions, to be lifted. So, I don't know. I don't know if that had any bearing on why Wilder said what he said, in my opinion. So I'm not going to say that that's not right or wrong. I kind of disagree with it, but it is what it is.
I don't think it, and also the other thing is there's two elements here. We don't know how exactly those discussions and negotiations between Top Rank and matchroom boxing as well as Wilder's camp went down, because for all you know, there's a lot of gray area over here. Yeah, the statute of limitations or whatever it is, the amount of time that they had to enforce an automatic rematch, that ran out. For all we know, they were just kind of messing around with Joshua. They did intend to fight Wilder at the same time, but it comes down to negotiating, and it's about trying to get the best offer that you can. So that's the thing. We don't really know the whole point about, okay, was he really trying to duck Wilder? And frankly, if Wilder did come out making crazy statements like this, that frankly, no one who's objective, anyone who's objective knows that these are just outlandish statements from a person who can't accept the same thing that happened to Sugar Ray Robinson, who's a much greater fighter than all these guys put together, including Floyd Mayweather, by the way, who might have beaten Jake LaMotta 6 times, but he also lost to Jake LaMotta, and he didn't have a perfect record. But the point is that I just kind of feel like people are really, I don't think you really understand the whole point of the fact that there's a lot that we don't know about what happens in these behind closed doors
That's true.
discussions. We just don't know. And it could have just been a long drawn out negotiation ploy. And if Wilder really did start talking crazy like this, that would make Fury probably even more like, okay, this dude is clearly, he's gone nuts. I'm just going to go and fight. I'm not even going to give him the attention that he's looking for. It's perfectly plausible that that's the direction it would have gone in if they didn't have a contractual commitment. So, I mean, there's levels to all this, guys. I mean, you guys got to think deeper about this stuff before just running your mouth.
KDDR7989. Thank you for the super chat. He says you got a lot of people that got Fury glove fetishes, and he's LOL laughing about it. Brian Cali King makes a statement, says Wilder didn't say nothing until Fury announced another fight. You already know. Even if that was true, it's still not going to take away the fact that all those statements that were made were, number one, unproven. Number two, they sounded very, very outlandish, right? And they sounded very, very improbable. And also no proof was given. So we live in a society now where anyone could just say anything about anybody, and automatically we're just supposed to believe all women, right? Supposed to believe all men or whatever. We're supposed to believe somebody's version. They're telling us their truth. Okay? This is their truth. This is my truth. Where I come from, there's only one truth, right? There's only, you believe people. You don't just believe everyone. You believe people who you think are telling the truth, not only just because you think they're telling the truth, but they provide evidence to support and let you know that they're telling the truth. So this whole thing about anyone could say so I could say that, I'm being treated unfairly by anybody, right? And is that supposed to just mean it? Is that supposed to mean something? I have a scratch on my car right now. Can I just say that my neighbor took a key and scratched my car without having any proof and make him pay for it? Can I just accuse anybody just based off of suspicion? Oh, well, he gave me a dirty look the other day, so it had to be him that put that scratch on my car. I can't do that. If I call up my insurance company and I give that person's plate number, right? And I can't provide evidence that person actually did it, right? Then I'm not going to be able to get the damages from that person. You can't. No one can just accuse anybody without proof. This whole thing that we're supposed to just believe everybody just because they have it's their truth. Nah, man, I'm not with that, bro. You gotta bring facts. You gotta bring evidence to the table. I'm not gonna just believe anybody just because they say it. So even if Wilder was pissed, that still doesn't give him a reason to make up things that aren't true. You could be mad at somebody because that's like if you get in a fight with your girlfriend, right? Or your wife or whatever, right? Over finances or something. Then she turns around and says, hey, he raped me. So because you won't buy her that diamond she wants, or you won't pay her child support or whatever you owe her or whatever, does that mean she can accuse you of rape? So you can just say anything that's not true just because you want to get back at that person for not doing the thing that you think they should have done or doing what you perceive as the right thing. So you're going to go ahead and make up a false statement about them or a false story about them. It's a false equivalency. So you just can't justify those claims that Wilder made just because he was mad about him thinking that he may not get that third fight. Did that give him the right to defame Mark Breland because he's mad about not getting a third fight? Like, why did he say those things about Mark Breland? Why was he mad at Mark Breland? Just because he stopped the fight? So you're going to sit there and say he drugged you? Just say, hey, I'm mad at you for stopping the fight, and I don't want you to train me anymore because I don't like what you did, and leave it at that. So you can't justify this behavior and these comments and these statements just because Wilder was mad because he thought that he maybe wasn't going to get the third fight. That doesn't make sense.
Joe, by the way, you just reminded me of something. There's been a lot of contentious stoppages over time where the corner has thrown in the towel and the fighter's been very emotional about it. But can you remember any instance of a fighter getting rid of a coach because they threw in the towel? Because I can't. I'm thinking about this. Once. Okay.
Guess who it was? And I'm not saying that this is the only time because it could have been other times. Do you remember when Buddy McGirt stopped the Paulie Malignaggi Ricky Hatton fight?
Oh,
and Paulie
right.
And Paulie Malignaggi.
Yeah.
But you know what I respect about Paulie Malignaggi? Paulie Malignaggi was mad at Buddy McGirt for doing that. And you know what he did? He ripped him apart, threw him, dragged his name through the mud. But he never accused him of doing anything like drugging his water or doing anything wrong to him physically, right? But he insulted him as a trainer, right? Which I still don't think was right. He said he was a trash trainer, blah, 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 blah. But you know what he went at? But he also, I respect Paul Malignaggi because he kind of apologized, not in so many words. He said, you know what, I was kind of overboard when I said that about Buddy McGirt. He's a very good trainer. He's a great trainer. Maybe him and I just didn't mesh well. He wasn't the trainer for me. That doesn't mean he wasn't a good trainer. So he kind of, not so many words, in his own way, apologized for those statements. So that's different.
Yeah, I think like a lot of that is emotion. But like you said,
look at this one. Look at this one.
Yeah. Let's see.
Look at this one. So with this, I'm gonna translate this comment. What this person's really supposed to mean. Beeb, don't use good examples to make Wilder look like what he did to be wrong. You're proving Wilder wrong here. Don't say things bad about Wilder. So this means, of course, Beeb respects Paulie on brand again. So he's trying to say because Paulie's white and Deontay's black, that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. Basically, what he really means is, Beeb, that was actually a good point, and it discredits Wilder's argument. So don't say those things, Beeb. Only say things that make Wilder look good. Don't say things that make Wilder look bad. That was basically the translation to that comment. So he knows that I made a valid point, and instead of rebutting it with another valid point to support what he's saying, he brought race in. That's a classic deflection right there because he can't debate the actual points of the argument. So instead of saying, Beeb, that was a good point, don't bring up these points because it discredits Wilder's argument and it discredits our argument. He's bringing race into it. That's why he did it. That basically these guys are taking L's by deflecting and changing the subject. You can make it about race all you want, but I don't think an Asian person, a black person, an Indian person, a Chinese person, well, that's Asian too, Canadian person, I don't think anyone should really be able to accuse anybody of drugging them without proof. So that's the thing. What Wilder could have done was say, I don't like how Breland was training me. I don't think I learned anything from him. I think everything I've learned, I don't think I could learn anymore. I think I've learned everything I could learn from this guy. I think it was a horrible move that he stopped the fight. He could have just said all those things and called it a day. You didn't have to, like Paulie Malignaggi didn't accuse Buddy McGirt of drugging his water. He didn't accuse Buddy McGirt of, injecting him with muscle relaxants and causing him not to perform in the fight. He never made any of those claims, right? But Wilder did. Wilder, not saying he did, I kind of, embellished it a little bit, but Wilder said that Breland drugged him. Instead of just saying, hey, I'm mad at Breland for stopping the fight too soon, right? I'm mad at Breland because I don't think that he brings anything to the table. I think he taught me all he could teach me, and I need some new blood. Instead of just saying that, he had a character assassinate and falsely accuse Breland of drugging his water. If Breland did what Wilder said he did, then Breland would be in jail right now. Bill Cosby was drugging women, right? What happened to him? What happened to him? Got thrown in jail. Now, obviously, he was raping them too, but you can't go and drug people. I can't drug you, right? That's considered assault. I'm causing harm. If I drug you and I'm causing you to be physically impaired, right? Where you could damage yourself and hurt yourself, that's a form of assault. So if Breland did what Wilder accused him of, he could go to jail for that. Or he could definitely, a criminal offense would be brought up against him, right? And possibly he could go to jail for that. If I drug somebody, am I allowed to just drug somebody? Right? What did Michael Jackson's doctor do? He was drugging him, right? Putting him to sleep every night, right? And Michael Jackson died because of it, right? That guy went to jail, right? So if Breland did what Wilder accused him of, he would be in serious, serious trouble right now. He would be facing strong legal actions, possibly jail time.
I mean, the race thing is pretty tired, guys. If you want to, Roy Jones Jr. was straight up clowning Wilder, talking about how he used to play basketball on the days of certain fights. Andre Ward clowned him too. He straight up gave him the best advice. He said he needs to just get away from media for a while because otherwise he's going to start saying some stuff that he's going to regret. Well, Joe, here we are a year later. And he's going to get clowned for the rest of his life for this when we look back at this years from now.
Fury is a known, listen to this one. Fury is a known cheater, so I can't believe Fury, once a cheater, always a cheater. Wilder had to go to 2 arbitrations for the fight. So what does that tell you? Once again, one thing has nothing to do with the other. So, okay, I'm going to make a confession. When I was 11 years old, I went to Medimart, which is now called Walgreens. It used to be, the drugstore used to be called Medimart. I was 11 years old. I went in there and I stole a Snickers bar. I committed a crime. That's larceny, right? That's larceny. I stole something, right? So technically, I'm a thief, right? Because I stole a Snickers bar when I was 11 years old. Now, does that mean someone can accuse me of robbing a bank? Does one thing have anything to do with the other? So does that mean that I'm going to go out and rob a bank, right? Does that mean I'm going to go out and assault somebody physically because I stole a Snickers bar? So you're taking something someone did back in 2015, all right? And he's never tested positive since then, right? He came back in 2018, fought for 3 years, passed every drug test, right? Passed every drug test, right? So we're just going to say anyone can say that he's a cheating even when he's not, just because he cheated before. What does that mean? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense.
Like
So because Fury tested positive for nandrolone, how does that mean that he loaded his gloves? And there's nothing illegal about having your wrist go like this. There's no rule in the sport of boxing that says you can't bend your wrist back like this. There's no so.
do you? I mean, have you guys never watched Ali fighting back in the day? Because he used to
Always
throw
been
those.
always.
Yeah, I mean, he used to throw those slap hooks all the time. I mean, you guys should really watch some of these old school fights, not just the highlights. Like, watch a couple of like full fights. You'll see tons of open-handed slaps almost. He used to do it all the time.
Always. He always just opened his glove up like that too. So again, if there was an issue with the gloves, then why did JD's not bring it to the commission's attention? Why did the commissioner, the representative of the commission who was standing right there, JD's was sitting right there? You guys don't believe what you're saying. You're just saying it because you want to make Wilder look good. You want to make Wilder look like he didn't really lose. You're trying to defend somebody because it's called cognitive dissonance. You guys really know. This is what you really mean. I know Wilder really didn't cheat, and I know Fury really beat him up bad in that second fight. I know all these things, but it makes me feel good to say that Fury cheated, so I'm just going to say it anyways. Right? That's what you really mean. Nobody really believes that Fury cheated in that second fight. Nobody. I don't think anyone logically truly believes that. But by convincing themselves that he did and allowing the cognitive dissonance to seep in, all it says is you just want to feel good. You want the pain of your hero losing to be erased. So how does that happen? We could wash it all the way. Wash it all the way. How do we do that, Beeb? Fury cheated. Yay, I feel better now. Ooh. So you want the pretty lie because you can't deal with the ugly truth. So you know what? It's great. It's great that you guys believe that. I want you to believe that if it makes you feel better. If you really want to believe that, and it helps you sleep at night and lets you get through the day to know or believe that Fury cheated just so you can feel better, then that's fine. Maestro! ¿Cómo
Yo, what
está?
up, bro?
What's going on? They don't believe it, but it makes them feel good to pretend that they believe it. That's all it is.
Yo, so did you see the comment I left in your live there, Joe?
I saw a couple of them. Let me
All right, so look, it's like this, right? If you want to take Fury's past positive test, okay, which, as you just rightly mentioned, was years ago, and use that to set a precedent. So even if we want to borrow that logic, which I think is already flawed logic, well, I asked number one Packers in the chat, I said, do you think that his water was spiked? He said no. Okay, great. So then he's a liar. So once a liar, always a liar, right? And if he's lying about the water, why isn't he lying about the gloves and the egg weight and the suit and having COVID? I'm just borrowing the logic.
Fair point. I think you made a great point there, right?
I mean, if you don't believe that Mark Breland spiked his water, then why do you believe anything else? Things that there is no evidence for. None.
Okay, check this out. Easy Bucks. Say what you want about AJ. He took his loss like a man. Remember, Wilder laughed at him when he lost, AJ made no excuses. That's what he said.
Yeah, and he's right. And he's right. AJ took his loss like a man. We need to get away from, again, I'm going to put it to you like this. Sugar Ray Robinson, Jack Johnson, these guys have resumes that are greater than all these other guys put together, and they all took losses, including like stoppage losses. So we need to. It's okay if your favorite boxer loses a fight or two.
Now
There's
listen to
nothing
this
wrong with
comment.
that.
Listen to this comment. AJ made hell of excuses. You know, I'm going to translate this comment. I know AJ didn't make any excuses, but I'm just going to say he did. Why? Because it makes me feel good, because it makes Wilder look better. Because now I can just say that AJ made the same excuses. So now I can try to normalize. Basically, they're doing this to make themselves feel good once again, so they could normalize what Wilder did by trying to make a statement about AJ that they know they didn't.
Wait,
No, that no, they don't. They know they don't believe this, but they're going to say it because it makes them feel good. I mean,
Guys,
it's fine if you want to make statements that you don't believe to make you feel good, right? Then that's great. That's great, right? That's great.
If this is about race, then why are you guys putting down another black fighter in AJ? Or is it because he's African and not from the U.S.?
Yeah, it's just that they like Wilder. They just want to believe in this guy. They like this whole thing of Wilder being their king and stuff. People need some people need others to follow. They need others to follow.
You know.
Look at this. Look at this. I do believe it, weirdo. No, you don't believe it. But by pretending you believe it, by lying to yourself, people lie to themselves all the time. You know, they lie to themselves all the time, and the reason why they do it is because it detaches themselves from reality. Because they don't like the reality, so they'd rather live the fantasy and feel good. So you'd rather live a fantasy, believe a fantasy, because it makes you feel good. That's all it is. You don't believe it. You know you don't believe it. If you were in a court of law right now and you were on a witness stand and someone asked you, do you believe that that Tyson Fury loaded his gloves? Is there any evidence? If a lawyer asked you, is there any evidence? Can you provide any proof or evidence that Tyson Fury cheated in that second fight? And you were under oath, you would say no. I guarantee you would say no. I guarantee you. But because you're on the internet with a fake name and a fake avatar of somebody else, you can do that and get away with it. Because why? You can live out a fantasy, right? You can live vicariously through another man. You're not even a real person. You're a fake avatar with a fake name. So it's easy for you to say things and not be held accountable for them because no one's going to take a look at you. Right? You don't believe it. I don't think you believe it. You can't prove they can't prove that there was padding taken out of that glove. It's impossible. They can't prove it.
You can't, guys. Again, the amount of observation that happens, like once the gloves are selected, they're taken away by the commission personnel and they're stored like securely. No one can access them other than the commission people. Like the number of people who would have to be in on something like this to make it possible, it's just, it defies any kind of logic.
I'm going to translate this comment. This guy, he says, you're weird, FR, whatever FR means, right? Basically what he's saying is, I know I'm acting weird right now, but by me calling you weird, it actually normalizes me and makes me feel good, right? So he has to call me weird. This is basically a projection because he knows he's weird, because he knows it's weird to accuse somebody of doing something without proof. He knows that's kind of suspect, right? So by calling me weird, that like makes him look good and normalizes himself. Once again, helps him feel better about himself. That's what, as long as I can help you guys out, and make yourselves feel better about yourselves, that's all. That's great. That's great. Callie, what's up?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, fellas? Top of the morning.
How you doing?
I'm straight. Figure I'll hop in on the mic real quick. Hey, I just want to I just want to say this real quick. I think that like this next fight will just be what's telling because let's say Wilder wins, right? And he knocks him out because they might be watching Fury. If he beats him easy, that might kind of look suspicious, right?
No. Why would it?
You don't think so?
No.
If Wilder wins, outboxes him, beats him,
do you think he'll outbox him and win on the cards, or do you think he'll knock him out? How do you think he's going to win?
I think he's going to have to knock him out. You know what I'm saying? But okay. I'm just saying hypothetically. I'm just still speaking hypothetically.
So that means there was padding. Does that mean that there was padding taken? So that's going to prove that there was padding taken out of the glove of Fury?
I'm just like, well, maybe it might be suspicious on that side, but then let's look at it on the But then let's look at it on the other side, because okay, what if Fury just destroys Wilder, and then that makes all of his excuses suspicious too, right? Like, man, they was fake,
So
it's
if Wilder knocks Fury out, right, after not being able to do it the first two fights,
it's just like remember when they caught Margarito?
Let me ask this question. So if Wilder knocks out Fury, right, after not being able to knock him out in the first two fights, right, could I turn around and say that Wilder loaded his gloves without proof? Would that be suspicious that a guy all of a sudden knocks somebody out that he couldn't do in the first two fights? Could I turn around and say, well, that's suspicious, or would I be wrong for doing that?
Well, Wilder is a knockout artist, though. It's if he knocks him out, it wouldn't be like surprising. But you got to be honest. What Fury did last fight, I'm not saying that. I'm not buying into the excuses of what I'm saying, but
what did Fury do? Oh, by knocking him out, you mean? But again,
moving forward, changing up his style. You know what I'm saying? He changed up his style.
But Fury fought like that. He fought like that against Chisora. He fought like that against Steve Cunningham, right? So we've seen Fury fight like that before, right?
Kali.
I don't know, man.
What Fury did, that was the only, like, his strategy of outboxing him that he tried in the first fight. He knew that, it was going to be tough to win on the cards, even if he did perform really well. And Wilder does have the ability to, the thing is, anytime you go up against fighting backwards, that's how you know if a guy really is technically skilled. Like a lot of guys, most power punchers, they punch great when they're moving forward, but it's when you're asked to fight backwards when it's harder. Sugar Hill unlocked the strategy. We're bigger than this guy. We're going to lean on him, do that dirty boxing, push him up against the ropes. Roy Jones Jr. said it all. He said it wasn't no 45-pound vest. It was the 270 pounds that big white boy was putting on him. Round after round, it just wears you down. So that's he knew.
I'm just trying to keep it simple like this. It's like, okay, if this is just, to me, in my opinion, how I'm gonna look at it. Let's say because I'm a Wilder fan too, but if Wilder loses and gets beat up the exact same way the next fight, then I'll be honest with myself and be like, damn, that was a bunch of damn excuses because he turned around and did the same exact shit. So them definitely had to be some excuses. But if Wilder beats him and Fury not able to do the same thing, then I might be like, damn, that motherfucker was probably cheating. Shit. You know what I'm saying? Because because they're going to be like, okay, what's the difference? It's the difference because let's just say hypothetically, look what happened with Cotto and Margarito. You seen what happened the first fight. You seen what happened the second fight. So that's what makes you be like, just because of that shit happening, you'll be like, Margarito probably did cheat Cotto. But even right now, to this day, they don't have no evidence on Margarito cheating against Cotto, right? What evidence do
Well,
they have on Margarito?
Here's my problem with the whole Margarito thing. First of all, they was trying to say the story kept changing from Nassim Richardson. And here's a fun fact that a lot of people don't know. Nassim Richardson didn't even go to the hearing. He was asked to go to the hearing. He didn't even go. He accused Margarito of putting bricks in his gloves, blocks. Then he changed that story. What Margarito did was he put a padding in his glove that was too big. It was bigger than the regulation allowed him to have, right? Also, the commission claimed that padding was harder, right, than normal. They didn't say any. There was nothing foreign about like. Then they found traces of sulfur. Sulfur's in everything. So there really wasn't proof that Margarito even cheated in the Mosley fight.
Exactly. But
man, hold on, wait. I'm going to be honest with you.
I'm going to be honest with you.
I'm going to be honest with you. Listen to this, though, Brian. Let me make this point now, and I'm going to let you burn for as long as you want.
Okay.
Technically, what was in Margarito's gloves was illegal because there was too much tape on that piece of padding. Number one, and the padding was too big. So yeah, but this is the point I'm trying to make. What was put out there that he had bricks in his gloves, right? He had plaster of Paris in his gloves. What Margarito did was the whole story was totally embellished and it was blown out of proportion. Because if they were making what Margarito did sound the same way as what Louis Resto did. Here's the difference. Louis Resto went to jail and he got suspended for life. Margarito was suspended pending an investigation. And what they found was the padding was too big and there was too much tape making that padding too hard, right? He had too much tape on the and too much gauze on the gloves, and the padding was too big. That's wrong. I'm not defending that. That's wrong. But let me ask you this. Does that mean that he had bricks and plaster of Paris in his gloves? No. He had trace amounts of I have trace amounts of sulfur on my body right now. Like everybody has those amounts. Right. So yeah, what Margarito did was wrong. Just like what Fury did was wrong back in 2015. But I can't. It goes back to this. I stole a candy bar when I was 11. Does that mean that I'm going to be a bank robber when I'm fucking 30 because I stole a candy bar when I'm 11? It's a false equivalency in my opinion. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead.
Right. But you know something, man. My whole thing is this because I'm just trying to say something like this, man. I don't trust shit. I don't trust nobody. I mean, that's in life. I don't trust nobody. I don't trust what you talking about. I don't trust what you talking about. I don't trust what they talking about because boxing is dirty. This shit is dirty. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if Wilder making up a bunch of excuses. I don't know if Fury cheated. Shit. All I'm saying is that in the next fight, you know, if Wilder get his ass beat, it'll look like he made up a bunch of damn excuses. If Fury get beat, if he get his ass beat, it might look like he cheated. That's all I'm saying.
Well, some people are going to say that. They'll say that, but it doesn't make it true because just because Cotto beat up Margarito in the second fight, that still doesn't mean he had bricks in his gloves.
Yeah, but
the first fight,
man, you know, I mean, man, you know, on the inside, man, you know that was a good victory for Cotto, and you know something was up with Margarito, man. Don't play, man. We can't just say he was clean.
Was
Margarito
know.
Clean?
Okay, but what I'm trying to say to you is
these dudes are not
then
clean,
then why did he fight Paul Williams and hit Paul Williams way more times than he hit Cotto? And why did Paul Williams not suffer the same fate? Why did he fight Joshua Clottey and Joshua Clottey got hit way more? Why didn't Joshua Clottey suffer the same fate Cotto did? We don't know. I don't.
But
I
that's
don't
the
believe,
whole thing. We don't know. That's why I don't believe these fools, man. I don't believe
Brian,
none of them.
But Brian, they caught Margarito, right? They caught him. They saw that the gauze was too big. There was too much tape. They caught Trinidad. They made Trinidad rewrap. They made Kessler rewrap. If you could say what I mean, it would be almost impossible for them to be at the glove meeting the day before, approve the gloves, right? Then in the locker room, JD's is looking at the gloves. He's seeing them being wrapped. Then the commissioner's there. It would be virtually impossible for there to be an egg weight in that glove. It would be virtually impossible for the padding to be taken out of that glove after being watched by all those people. If the commission saw that and they allowed it to happen, do you know the legal ramifications that the commission would be under right now?
Right.
They could be charged with assault with a deadly weapon. So I don't think even Wilder believes the claims he made. I don't think the people who made those claims believe it either. But they saying it, why? Because it makes Wilder look good. Let me be honest, Brian. Let me just ask you a question. You can answer it any way you want. If Wilder lost, right? If you believed Fury cheated, right? Does it make you feel better having Wilder lose knowing Fury cheated? Or does it make you feel better having Wilder just lose fair and square? Wouldn't it make you feel better to say, "Oh, well, I think Wilder lost because Fury cheated"? And I'm not saying that you believe that, but isn't that if you're a Wilder fan, wouldn't that make you feel better believing that Fury won because he cheated? Is that a fair statement to make that?
Would it make me feel better?
Yeah, like you could.
Cheated?
Yeah, then you could say, well, Wilder really didn't lose. He lost because Fury cheated. Doesn't that make the loss?
I don't know about everybody else, but, I don't know about the cheating shit, all the other stuff, but, like at least make sure his gloves can stay up in the damn fight. At least that. I don't know. I'm not saying even that's a damn excuse. I'm just saying at least pull his gloves up. That's like somebody that's got their pants hanging on. Pull your pants up. Pull your glove up. That's it. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, but that happened. That happened in the first fight, though, Brian. His glove wasn't falling off in the second fight. People are bringing that up from the first fight. In the second fight, his glove wasn't falling off.
All I'm saying is that, let's just have it to where, okay, nobody can say nothing because we on the third match, watch his gloves, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Let him fight. And then whatever the result is, shit, like I said, if he beat his ass, right? You agree with me when I say if he beat Wilder ass, you're going to say straight up, that was a bunch of damn excuses, right?
I'm going to say it regardless either way, but yeah, I would say it. Yes. I no matter what happens, but if Wilder beat his ass and, cause we seen that he wasn't fighting the same way. Wilder wasn't, even though Fury was fighting different, Wilder definitely wasn't fighting the same way. You know what I'm saying? But Ryan, I already told you that I do not think that Wilder was 100% for that second fight. I already told you that I believe his shoulder was messed up. Okay? I already told you he looked sick, right? Now, the argument is no one's 100% going into the fight. I think he was significantly less than 100% going into that fight. I think he was less than 100% than Fury was. I concede all those points. But I'm never ever gonna believe that the water was drugged, and I'm never ever gonna believe. I can even believe the suit was too heavy. I'll even accept that. I'll even accept that. What I'm not going to believe. I'm just not going to. I'm not going to believe that the water was drugged, and I'm not going to believe that the gloves were loaded and padding was taken out of the gloves. I'm not going to believe that the same thing that happened in the Louis Resto fight happened in this fight. I'm not going to believe that.
I'm not gonna go off of that. I really don't believe all that stuff. I don't know what to believe when it comes to boxing, to be honest, Brian, with you. I just said it,
Brian.
Man.
You just said you really don't believe it, but part of you wants
to.
I
really don't. No, not that it. Part of me wants to believe it. Part of me seeing something with my own damn eyes. This damn glove flopping. Regardless, that shit is not legal.
In the first. Well, again, Brian.
Whenever that shit happened, fix that shit. Do I think that's why he lost? But do I
That's the
think
first
that's
fight, though,
why he
Brian.
lost a fight? Hell fucking nah, because that's like if somebody's swinging a damn stick on you and you just getting hit with a stick, you're gonna dodge the fucking stick. I mean, it's the same shit, dodging the shit. So I don't think that's why he lost. But obviously something was wrong with him in that second fight. I don't know what
I
the hell it
agree.
was.
I
You know
agree.
what I'm
I'm
saying?
not. I agree. I think that was probably a Wilder at probably 50. I'll go as far as saying that was Wilder probably at 60%. I
Yeah.
agree. I'm not going to dispute that. I'm not going to dispute that.
I think one thing we got to keep in mind is you remember the Luis Ortiz fight or the fights, and there were situations there. Wilder took a lot of punishment in those fights. I mean, yeah, he stopped him. You know, he got the win. That's amazing. But we've seen him get hurt and take a lot of punishment in fights before. That's one thing. And I mean, Callie, to your point, I think in situations like this, we have to start from what's the simplest explanation. If Wilder beats Fury in the third fight, and he would have to win by KO, because he's not going to outbox someone who's more skilled than him. He'd have to catch him, he'd have to hurt him, and he'd have to put him away. If that happens, the simplest explanation is you got a 1.5 year layoff, ring rust. Fury, you know, he's a little imbalanced, right? Sometimes he loses interest in training. There's a lot of reasons you could say that he just wasn't in the right type of conditioning, and it was lightning in a bottle. You know, Wilder caught him, he hurt him, and he put him away. That would be the simplest explanation. But I mean, I think like I always feel like that's where people should be starting from. And then we kind of build off of that to be like, okay, but is there something else going on over here?
Okay, let me ask you guys something real quick. You know what I'm saying? Just let's say hypothetically, because I know people is, you know, down on Wilder. They said he not gonna win. They already talking about Anthony Joshua versus Fury. What if Wilder does win, right? Will you know how everybody been like, oh, undisputed, let's get to undisputed, big undisputed. You think they'll be the same exact way, or do you think they just want these two, Fury, AJ, they want them two to fight, or do you think they really want an undisputed showdown?
In my opinion, I don't think Al Heyman likes Eddie Hearn. I don't think the PBC side likes the Matchroom side. And I think there's always going to be an issue trying to make PBC fights with Matchroom fighters. Because this is my opinion. I think Al Heyman takes things personal. I think he holds grudges, right? I really think he does. And because of that, that's why I think a lot of these fights don't get made. I really believe that.
Right. So
I think
Fury,
I think if Wilder beats him, then I think they'll definitely try to make that fight because it'll be the first time Fury's taken a loss, and we're not sure, how he would react to that if he wants to take some time off. Depends on how much damage he's taken in the fight as well. There's no contractual rematch clause, I don't think, anymore. So they would probably try to make the fight, but it would be really, really hard. And I think we'd probably see both Fury, for both Joshua and Wilder, take at least one other fight.
Listen to this comment. Listen to this comment. Now Al Heyman slander, LOL, right on time. Translation: do not say anything bad about people I like because it hurts me and it doesn't make me feel good. You can only say good things about Al Heyman. You can never be constructively critical of Al Heyman, even if it's your opinion and you believe it. You have to say only nice things about Al Heyman, or it's going to hurt me and I'm going to have to attack you. I'm going to discredit you if you say anything negative about Al Heyman. I'm going to make fun of you and shame you into saying good things about Al Heyman. That's what this comment means. I'm just translating for people who don't understand the language of fan. There's a language called fanboyism, and Bayside Boxing, he's fluent in it. So I'm just kind of trying to translate his comments. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's just, guys, this is Coke and Pepsi. You got to realize something. Al Heyman, he's done great things for his fighters. He's gotten them paid while not necessarily putting them in too much danger. But you got to realize they both operate the same way. Heyman is not going to give control over to another promotional organization, and Matchroom operates the same way. They both want the same level of control, which is why making these fights, it's hard. Do you realize that Mayweather Pacquiao took 5 years to make, first of all, 6 years actually? And it only happened because like the head of CBS or whoever, Les Moonves, I guess, he had to broker a deal between Top Rank and Heyman's group at the time. That's the only way that it got made. So unless like there's some other like higher authority that comes in and sort of is able to broker a peace deal, if you will, it's going to be tough because again, it's Coke and Pepsi, fellas. They both operate the same way.
So you guys think it'll be easier to make a deal on an undisputed with Fury rather than Wilder if Fury wins?
I think it'll be easier, but I still think it'll be hard because I don't know, man. I just think whenever you have egos like this involved, there's gonna be issues. I think Fury would rather fight in Vegas, man. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
I think Fury likes fighting here. I don't think AJ does. I think that's always going to be a problem. Do I think it's easier than Fury fighting Joshua than Wilder fighting Joshua? 100%. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to be a problem. I think when you have the egos, you have the two sides is like the way they are. I think there's always going to be issues. I think that Eddie Hearn is going to do everything he can to not have the fight in the United States. And I think AJ is going to do everything he can to probably have it in the United States, to be honest.
You think so?
I think so. I could be wrong, but that's just it's my opinion. Everyone thinks that when I say things, I'm saying it as fact. I'm just saying it's my opinion. But again, I can't, if my opinion makes other people feel bad, then I can't say it because then I'm hating. See, that the word hating means that you're saying something that I don't like and I don't want to believe and it bothers me. So you have to say what I want you to say. That, and if you don't, then you're hating. So I'm translating this language that on the internet. It's called fanboyism. That these people in the chat, they're just a little bit They're just I'm hurting these people in the chat because I'm just killing them with logic, and it bothers them.
To make a Joshua versus Wilder like super fight, you probably need, I know Joe disagrees with me on this, but like you probably need one of them Saudi people, one of them like oil rich, like royal family people to come in and be like,
Come up on a bag.
Yeah. We're going to finance the whole thing. Both of y'all make 50-50 of your end. We keep a little bit. The fighters get the rest. Like that's probably, exactly. You would have to come with a bag and give them a deal that they just can't walk away from. That's probably the only way it happens because I don't think Wilder wants to fight in the UK. If he's, I'll put it to you like this: if he's this paranoid about like, alleged Fury cheating, there's no way in hell he's gonna go fight in Wembley or London. He's gonna be like, nah, those judges are gonna be against me and all that. So they're gonna want, and I think Joe's right. I don't think Joshua wants or likes to fight in the US. Fury does. And those are part of the reasons why probably making a fight with Fury, like a fourth fight, even if it comes down to it, probably a little bit easier.
Even Dillian White, they're looking to match him in the United States in his next fight. So that's going to be pretty interesting, I think.
Man, I feel sorry for Dillian White. Like his name has been in people's mouths for like the last 3 years.
Yeah, I think it's shitty what's happening to Dillian White, to be honest with you. He needs to get a big fight, bro.
Man, I don't feel sorry for none of these dudes. They making money, man, whoever they fight.
Yeah,
Dillian White, a lot of easier fights.
Dillian White is making buku dollars, though, man, off of...
Yeah, he making money.
He making big-time money, bro.
He making money. But, yeah, hey, all I wanted to say was, the next fight between Wilder and Tyson Fury, it'll be very telling. You know what I'm saying? Me, I'm saying as far as not like on who cheated and all this. I'm just saying on the strategy because let's see if Wilder's strategy, can his new trainer and the new strategy he coming with can phase Tyson Fury. Because right now, man, dude, Tyson Fury is the number one dude. He a beast, man. He's fucking 6'9". What's his wingspan be?
I think he's like 86-inch reach.
I mean, damn, man. It's a big dude. We'll see if he can get it done. What's the odds on it?
I think Wilder's like a plus 220 right now. It's close.
Oh, okay.
It's getting close. It's getting close.
Yeah, I mean, the ring rust. If this rematch had happened like 6 months or 5 months after the second fight, I think there would have been much steeper odds on Wilder. But because it's like almost a year and a half, I guess, like the ring rust, there's a lot of unknown. And Fury just, he's a little bit crazy, right? You don't know how much he's been training. I imagine Sugar Hill's been really strict on him and everything, but you just never know, right? And I think that's affecting the odds.
Guys, did I miss something here? Bayside Boxing says, wait, so an opinion on Fury tampering with gloves is hating, even though Fury was caught by a ref is hating.
Hey, I'm back in the chat.
Okay.
All right, take care, buddy.
I'll see you later, man.
All right.
All right, so he says, so an opinion on Fury tampering with gloves is hating, even though Fury was caught by the ref is hated, but reading Al Heyman's mind is not hating. I'm not reading Al Heyman's mind. I'm giving you my opinion on what I suspect he feels, because it's actually been said to me by Sam Watson that he holds grudges sometimes. That's all I'm saying. So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying.
Also, look, we got to be fair. I mean, we have to be fair. Look, Heyman has done a great job of getting his fighters paid while not taking too much risk. But you got to ask yourself, call a spade a spade. Why haven't we seen Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford? I mean, I know Spence had the accident and everything, and I'm glad he's back. But, I mean, you got to realize, Heyman doesn't play ball with other promoters. He only wants to control and have his fighters fight his other fighters. And that's how he does business. And it's gotten people paid, but it's not good for the fans if you really think about potential super fights.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man. I mean, but I don't remember the ref ever catching Tyson Fury loading his gloves. So I don't know.
Did he mean that the ref took a point for holding, which was ridiculous, by the way?
No, he said that the ref caught Tyson Fury loading his gloves. I don't remember any ref saying that I caught Tyson Fury loading his gloves. So I don't know what he's talking. Did the ref ever? Did Jack Reese or Kenny Bayless say at the end of the fight that I caught Tyson Fury with egg weights in his gloves, or his gloves were loaded, or the padding was taken out? I didn't hear the ref say that. I didn't hear the refs saying anything.
I don't remember anything like that.
The thumb was attached, and the thumb was there was no issues with the thumb on the glove. That's not correct. I never was there an issue with Tyson Fury's glove in either Deontay Wilder? Is the issue with the glove and the thumb?
I don't think so. I mean, that doesn't seem likely.
So now ref caught Fury with a detached thumb in the Christian Hammer fight. What year was that? 2015. So once again, because I stole that candy bar back in when I was 11 years old, does that mean I'm going to rob a bank when I'm 30? What does one have to do with the other? The glove. So was there an issue with the thumb in either Wilder fight? I didn't recall anyone saying that.
You guys realize that if you get caught for something once, the commission's going to keep an extra strict eye on you to see if you try something like that again.
The gloves were inspected. The gloves were inspected. So if there's issues with the thumb, they would have been caught.
Man, Joe. One last thing before I head out is one of the reasons it's going to be interesting is some of these boxing channels, like the one you used to be affiliated with,
the Boxing Voice. You could say it.
Okay,
I still talk to that guy, as a matter of fact. People think that him and I are enemies. No, we're not. We just had an issue with working together. That's all. We're not enemies.
Did he ever apologize to you properly?
He's apologized. He's apologized to me before in the past, yeah. We never really had
that's
we've never had a real conversation about the this last incident that we had, but he's apologized to me, and I've actually apologized to him before in the past too. We're actually we have issues working together, but we actually, I mean, I don't know if he respects me, but I actually have a lot of respect for him. I've always said that he's a hard worker. I think he does a good job with the interviews. I think that puts in a lot of effort, travels, does a lot of things on his own dime. I have disagreements with him on his takes on boxing and stuff like that. And but I don't have any ill will towards the guy. We just have a hard time doing business together. That's all.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear. I mean, after everything that went down, to be honest, out of principle, I used to listen to them a lot like years ago, but
Yeah.
after everything that went down, I stopped listening out of principle. But have they been in on the conspiracy theory angle, or are they more mature about it?
Well, once again, I mean, I watched, I don't want to be mean or anything. I watch the interviews that Ness does.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not crazy about the show because I think my criticism of the show is there's not really any, like, the co-hosts keep changing, and they seem to be more like they don't really analyze. They're more of, they're giving like an opinion based off of a fan's perspective, which is okay. But I'd rather listen to analysts. I like to listen to analysts because I'm an analyst. I think Eric's kind of an analytical person.
Mm.
I don't want to just listen to like people call in and talk and hear like fans' perspectives. It's good to interact with fans, but I don't think the basis of the show should be just the fans. So I don't really listen to the show that much, to be honest. I'm not sure. What he did say though was Wilder cut him off. So
okay. So he
so
probably was.
So yeah,
Really?
someone someone just said Ness lost his connection with Wilder for not rolling with all the excuses and accusations. Okay, so that's what happened.
Okay, well, yeah, that's fair. I'm glad to hear that. But
So
I think,
I respect Ness. The one thing Ness doesn't do is he still asks. He'll ask these people tough questions. He's not a kiss ass.
yeah, that seems like to be the only type of people that Wilder's surrounding himself with these days. But I guess some of these other channels, like what Boxing Ego or something, like some of these other guys, like, I mean, I just want to see if what I think is going to happen happens in the third fight, which is, a win for Fury by stoppage. I want to see how they're going to react. I mean, I'm actually I'm just as curious about that side of the internet as much as I am of the fight, I have to say.
They're always gonna say that Fury cheated no matter what. Whether Wilder wins or Fury wins, they're always gonna say that Fury's a cheater because it makes them feel good. It supports their narrative. It gives credibility to what they want to believe, whether they think it's really true or not. They're not gonna tell the truth about it.
Ain't that the truth? All right, brother. Well, thanks.
All right, I'll let you go, man.
Joe.
Anytime, brother. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Bye-bye. Take care. You're wrong. If Fury wins, he's the better man. Well, he was the better man in the first two fights, but you still made excuses for Wilder, so it doesn't matter. How am I gonna believe you now? Because Fury already beat him twice, in my opinion. I thought he won the first fight. He already beat him twice, and he still wasn't the better man. So how's he going to be the better man after that? So that's the thing, guys. You're full of shit. Somebody's mad at me because I'm not saying the things that they want to hear. Somebody's mad at me. Uh-oh. So I hurt somebody's feelings. You're full of shit. You're controlling. Whatever that means. All right. All right, guys. Beeb is out. Talk to y'all soon. Thank you for joining me in the chat. Thank everyone for the super chats. I will talk to y'all soon. Have a great day. Take care. Peace out, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe.